As I'm sure you all saw, the Phoenix Suns fell in embarrassing fashion yet again on their own home court in the playoffs, getting obliterated by the Denver Nuggets in the second round of the playoffs. And for a Suns team that went all in and had high aspirations to win the title after trading for Kevin Durant, now have some big questions to answer as they head into this offseason. Most notably, what are they going to do with DeAndre Ayton, who a lot of people feel, myself included, has played his last game with the Suns after yet another disappointing season and lackluster of a playoff performance with little energy and poor attitude. And since the loss, of course, you've had a lot of Bulls fans saying, hey, maybe the Bulls should take a look at Ayton and take advantage of this trade value while it's low. Well, in this video, we're going to be discussing why the Bulls pursuing a trade for Ayton is unlikely and why the fit might not be as good as you think. So what's going on, everyone? You were listening to Bulls Central here. Hope you're all doing well. Now, I uploaded a video earlier this morning on the second channel and One Hoops talking about the Suns' embarrassing loss and what it means for their future going forward. So if you follow that channel and you saw the videos, some of this might sound a little redundant. By the way, if you like general NBA content, feel free to check out that channel. The link to that is in the description. But either way, there have been questions around Ayton's long-term future with the Suns, and this has really gone back to last season when Ayton was looking for a max contract extension to his rookie deal after going to the finals with the Suns the year prior and being a big piece of that finals run before they ultimately lost to the Milwaukee Bucks. And when the Suns said, we're not quite sure if you're worth the max, like, yes, you're a valuable asset to this team and we definitely want to keep you, but we're going to need to see more from you and prove it to us that this wasn't just an isolated season where you did well. And really, ever since then, it clearly hasn't sat well with Ayton. He saw some of his peers from the same draft class get their max extensions, guys like Luka Doncic, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Trae Young, and he felt he was on their level, even though I think we can all agree he was just not at all on their level, not even close. And so throughout that season, meaning last season, Ayton's demeanor, his body language, when on the court, his effort on the floor, just wasn't there. Not that he was really that type of guy, but you could see a noticeable difference in how he carried himself on the court, and it impacted his overall performance on the floor. And this really hit a boiling point when the Suns were getting worked by the Dallas Mavericks last season in Game 7 of the West Semis, when Coach Monty Williams asked Ayton if he was going to be playing in the second half when the game was more or less over by that point, and Ayton didn't want to go in. Williams benched him for the rest of the game and said it was an internal issue they needed to resolve. That, of course, led to speculation on whether Ayton actually wanted to stay with the Suns, what it would mean for him going into his restricted free agency, would the Suns try and work out a sign and trade, and then, of course, when free agency finally hit, the Pacers, of all teams, offered Ayton his rookie max extension that he was looking for. And while everyone thought it was unlikely the Suns would match, since they said before they didn't feel like he deserved the max, that lasted about a few hours before the Suns quickly matched the Pacers offer sheet to retain Ayton. And while I know some people will say, well, clearly the Suns wanted him then, they wouldn't have re-signed him otherwise, you're telling me they're going to trade him now after signing him to a 4-year deal? No. See, the Suns, rather than losing him for nothing, knew that it would be better to match the offer, re-sign him to his deal, keep his bird rights, and then have the ability to trade him later on down the line to actually get something in return. The problem, though, is that it's going to be a lot harder to move Ayton now with the season that he just had, his overall attitude towards the game, and his current contract where he's going to be making over $30 million for the next 3 years and actually $35 million in the final year of his deal. And that's where the Bulls come in, and why working out a trade for Ayton, even if they wanted to trade for him, is going to be difficult, because who are you trading in order to make the money work to get him? It has to be one of the big three, and in the case of Vucevic, it would have to be a sign and trade. Now, the Bulls could package, say, Coby White in a sign and trade for him, depending on the amount that he would be signed to, Patrick Williams, and then Alex Caruso, again, just to make the salaries work. But at that point, it's like, what are we doing here? We're giving up all of that for DeAndre Ayton? This isn't an all-star player that we're talking about. The other thing that you have to remember, what did the Suns get out of this exchange? Like, if they're going to trade Ayton, a 24-year-old big man who is actually still a pretty skilled player, say what you will about his flaws, his lack of motivation and effort, but he still put up 18 and 10 last season on solid efficiency, finishing around the rim. Dude is a former #1 overall pick. And for the Suns, this isn't just a let's get rid of him at all costs, who cares what we get in return. No, this is a team that just blew a chance at a title and has a very narrow window of winning now with an aging roster, more specifically to Kevin Durant and Chris Paul, who might also be on the trade block, and I've seen Bulls fans talk about him as well, but we'll have to save that for a different day. Now, the two most likely candidates that the Bulls would have that could work salary-wise, or close to it with maybe some filler pieces, are Nikola Vucevic and DeMar DeRozan. Both players who are older, more established, and would fit the timeline of the Suns after trading away their future for Kevin Durant. And while I still think both Vooch and DeMar are better players than Ayton overall, or at least for now, Ayton is obviously younger with more potential to get better as he enters his prime. But do the Suns, in getting either Vucevic or DeMar, really move the needle for them? Like, you also have to consider fit, and given the makeup of the construction of the Suns roster, neither of these guys really fit that well. The Suns, as talented as they are somewhat similar to the Bulls in that they have star power, although the Suns have more star power, but they don't have a ton of shooting. They play and rely too much on heavy isolation scoring in the mid-range rather than floor spacing, and they don't have much depth coming off the bench. Adding a player like DeMar, while in theory sounds nice because you're adding yet another all-star, another elite scorer, you're talking about a true bona fide big three with Kevin Durant, DeMar, and Booker. At the same time, you're talking about three players who are all ball dominant, all like to play ISO, and take mid-range jumpers. Booker not as much, he can shoot threes, but definitely the case for Kevin Durant and DeMar DeRozan. Yeah, I could see that team shooting the lights out of teams and winning a lot of games as such, but not on a consistent basis, and especially not in the playoffs, which is why we've seen the Suns struggle in the postseason in this series against the Nuggets, because their shot profile was limited and they couldn't keep up with the Nuggets' floor spacing and transition play off of their misses. And then how about Vooch? The Suns add Vooch. Yes, they gain some outside shooting they otherwise wouldn't have with Ayton because Ayton rarely takes threes, but they're not getting the rim protection Ayton offers. And while I like Vooch and think he's a better player than a lot of people give him credit for, if Vucevic doesn't fit well with guys like Lavine and DeRozan in getting limited touches on the court, what do you think is going to happen if he teams up with Kevin Durant and Devin Booker? Same thing, if not worse. And again, Vucevic doesn't offer the requisite defense the Suns would need down low that they would otherwise get with Ayton. You also want to talk about energy and effort. I wouldn't say Vucevic is as bad when it comes to that compared to Ayton. Like, Ayton sometimes just looks like he doesn't care to even enjoy playing the game of basketball and is just there for the paycheck, but it's not like Vucevic is that much better when it comes to his overall demeanor, effort, and energy that he brings to the court. And as it relates to the Bulls and having a guy like Ayton over Vucevic, I mean, yes, there are some benefits. He's a better defender, a better rim protector, although not by that much, to be honest. He's more athletic with better footwork around the paint. The biggest advantage is that he's young. He's 8 years younger than Vucevic, so you can work and develop him, while Vucevic, we already know that his best days are behind him. But the downside is, you're potentially taking on what could become a very bad contract if Ayton continues with his I don't care about basketball attitude. If he doesn't get better, then yeah, it's a bad contract, because right now he's not playing to the level of his contract value, that's for sure. And then while yes, there is upside on the defensive end with Ayton, he doesn't take threes, doesn't really shoot the ball well in general. So you have another guy who is going to clog the paint for a Bulls team that is in desperate need of outside shooting and floor spacing. And above all of that, the shooting last season was certainly a problem, but what did the Bulls need more than anything? They need strong-minded players. They need hustle guys, energy guys, guys that are going to be the voice, the ones that are going to get in your ear when you're not doing your job, pushing you to get better, getting the team motivated and feeding off of your energy. You even saw that impact that it had on the group with Patrick Beverley when he joined the team, despite the fact that Beverley isn't really the best and most productive player. It was his energy and tenacity that created a newfound sense of urgency on the team. The last thing we need on the Bulls are more soft players. Guys who are going to whine when things aren't going their way, come out with little energy, play sloppy and lethargic. Not saying Ayton is all those things, but he's definitely not the type of player to help change the overall culture of the team in being dogs on the court. That just isn't Ayton. Now granted, maybe Ayton just needs a change of scene and he'll start breaking out into a star player and living up to the #1 draft selection that he was, and hopefully that is the case, because you hate to see a talent like him never live up to the potential, but I'm just not sure if that's a risk the Bulls should be willing to take when they have so many other priorities this offseason. But you guys let me know what you think. Do you think DeAndre Ayton on the Bulls makes sense? Let me know in the comments, and as always, be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.